I was completely hungover, and I literally was like, I can't do this anymore. So I went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, literally looked straight at the mirror and started talking to myself. I'm like, Hernan, you need to stop. This is and look, and it was such an empowering moment for me looking at myself, because when you're hungover, you're droopy, you just look horrible. You feel horrible. I told myself I gotta cut it, and I go, listen, enough with the BS. Either you stop or you just continue doing it, but stop making excuses for yourself that you could do a couple drinks here and then have water and then another drink, or hey, I can go out, because I've done that before. But no, what I know myself, and I told myself that day, I just need to stop. I started attending Alcoholics Anonymous when I first became sober, just as a part of my journey of sobriety. I felt like I needed it to take part in that. But what I recognized quickly was there's a lot of why are we anonymous? We shouldn't be anonymous. We should be telling our story out there. Millions of us out there that struggle with not just alcohol, drugs, mental health, gambling. So I probably like 4 or 5 months into AA, I decided to start posting my monthly sobriety date. So the 18th of every month, I put the coin up and put how many months, and then I put a little snapshot of quotes or what of just little sayings or things that I'm thinking of the day. And the reason I did that was because I felt like you need to be it needs to be outspoken, and
Mhm.
it's not only a form of recovery for myself in my journey, but I quickly realized, like a couple months into me posting my sobriety journey and posting every month, that I started having individuals reach out to me about what I'm doing and all that. So I've been doing that ever since. So I've been doing it practically 40, 46, 47 months straight, that I post on the 18th of every month with my coin. And initially, I just started doing it on Instagram and Facebook. And then I also included it in LinkedIn, even though it's a professional social media platform. But there's a lot of people struggling out there. So why not show, you're not scared. I'm not ashamed of what my flaws are. So if I can show and be inspire someone to say, hey, listen, he's putting himself out there. He's got the courage, or whatever you want to say, whatever verbiage. If it helps that person out, then then you're doing your duty in your journey of sobriety. So I've been doing that, last 46, 47 months, posting up. And then more and more, as I got more comfortable and everything, here and there, I'll throw videos up. I do post, and it's been it's been a very fulfilling journey so far. Not just only for myself on the personal side, on the business side, but I feel like I got my calling somehow in terms of
Yeah.
so, and I wasn't an alcoholic where I needed to drink every day. That's another thing I realized in AA. A lot of individuals need to go 2 to 3 times because they have that urge to drink. I never had that urge. My challenge and my issue as an alcoholic was the social setting, and that social setting was binge drinking. I could start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and stay out till 5 in the morning. In New York City, knowing plenty of bar owners and lounge owners, it's easy to just wind up somewhere. And what I did realize is, like, I feel like there's other forms of alcoholism
Yeah.
that people try to push away. And that could be your person who opens up a bottle of wine and drinks 2, 3 glasses a night, or just binge drinks every weekend, but they think they're not an alcoholic because they only do it on the weekend and they don't have to
Right.
it. So, and when you become sober and you start realizing that, you're like, wow, that was me, how I was before when I was drinking, binge drinking. So that was, it's just, it's an eye opener when you become sober, because you
Yeah.
start realizing a lot of stuff. You take things into perspective, and you're more focused and you're more attentive to things outside of what you were when I was on a Friday or Saturday getting drunk and then sitting on my couch the next day, ordering a bacon, egg, and cheese and a coffee, and being unproductive and being a loser. That's what I was doing. And there was just wasting away days that I could have been productive. That affects the week going into it anyway, because now for 2 days you're just comatose, and then the week starts and you're like, all right. So it's been a very eye opening journey, and it's been fulfilling so far.
I love that. I love that you touched on like pretty much everybody's definition of alcoholic is so different. It's like, are you physical dependent on it? Are you mentally dependent on it? Are you a binge drinker? Are you this drinker? Are you that drinker? And it's like why does there have to be a label? Like I think like if you think that you might have a problem with alcohol, then you got a problem with alcohol.
Correct. Yes.
Ask for some help. Um
If you think you need to have fun with alcohol, or that you need to, even the littlest thing, like I need to take the edge off and I need to have 3, 4 drinks, okay, one drink. But then if you notice that you need that, it's those little things. So, and when you become sober, you're aware of the individuals around you and see, what they're going through, that they're probably not self-aware of what's
right.
happening, but we are, because we've decided to become sober.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people attack those that are sober or have, in other words, quit drinking or, let it go or whatever.
They don't want to admit that that's who they are.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can either acknowledge it, or they're just hiding away from it, or they're just not aware. That's it. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I know several people that like look at us like we're a threat now because we don't drink. And it's like, I quit drinking to better my life and you're still sucking on your bottle.
yep, yep,
Like, I think there's just such a society has, ingrained in our brains that we have to drink, drink, drink to have friends, go to family events, go to soccer sports events, have holidays, birthdays, events, celebrations, any of it. We have to drink for all of it. What
correct.
do you buy somebody for Christmas? Buy them a bottle of
Olives,
whiskey.
easy,
Like, yeah, like what do you bring to a housewarming party? Wine. Like, there's always an event to bring alcohol to.
correct. Yes.
But oh my gosh. I wanna know, you said that you do have a hard-hitting story. Would you be willing to share some of that?
Well, I mean, the hard hitting story was, I was always aware that I had a problem when I drank. Yeah, I was that drunk that changed personalities and got aggressive and angry at a certain point after a number of hours of drinking. And I always knew that. And it was I went out on a Monday night with a friend, went to a local bar, and I just got hammered. We were doing shots. There were other people there that are locals in the bar. I mean, they just hang out there all the time. And it was a Monday evening, and then I just remember waking up that next day on a Tuesday morning, calling my partner at the time, because I was in business with someone, but he was a drinker as well. So he was aware, like we would know, like, all right, listen, I went out last night, I can't come in and everything. So that happened, but I took a hard look at myself in the mirror, because I'm like, I just felt like waste. I felt like so low that I'm like, what am I doing? And and that could be leading to like internally anger issues that I have. It doesn't even I don't have to be, I'm not angry, nothing traumatic happened in my youth or anything. I got two loving parents, blue collar workers, immigrated to the US, gave everything to my brother and I. So there's nothing there that stems from it. But internally, sometimes we have stuff in us that we can't explain. It's our own feeling. So that morning, I was completely hungover, and I literally was like, I can't do this anymore. So I went to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. And if you ever try to talk to yourself, even sober, in the mirror, you feel like it's awkward.
Yeah.
But I literally looked straight at the mirror and started talking to myself. I'm like, Hernan, you need to stop. This is and look, and it was such an empowering moment for me, looking at myself, because when you're hungover, you're droopy, you just look horrible, you feel horrible,
You're
you
bloated, your
feel
eyes are
well,
puffy, your cheeks are
yeah.
red. Like
And I literally looked at myself in the mirror, and I had a conversation with myself. I told myself I gotta cut it. And I go, listen, enough with the BS. Either you stop or you just continue doing it, but stop making excuses for yourself that you could do a couple drinks here and then have water and then another drink, or hey, I can go out, because I've done that before. But no, what I know myself, and I told myself that day, I just need to stop. There's no ands if or buts because I can't go back to. I had a lot of things on the positive up end on my career, on my business that was happening at the moment. We were growing and everything, and then I just had that conversation with myself, and I could tell you from that day on, I never had any inkling. I never had any thoughts about having a sip of alcohol. And that's God willing, and that's blessed that
Yeah.
God has created me that way. I know a lot of individuals struggle at that, but from that moment on, I did not think about going out and party. Listen, I party. People who know me know that, I enjoy going out, being out and having a good time, whether buying bottles or whatever, how we do it in New York. And but that day, on that August 18th day, I decided that enough's enough. And I haven't looked back. And a lot of people can't say that. So that's why I always, by the grace of God, I do believe, he built me in a way where I don't have to look back. That if I make a decision, I'm going with that decision, and I'm happy for that. And with that being able to be like that, I think that's always also gave me the courage and the outlook to help others once I started beginning that journey of my sobriety. So that was it, because it was if not, listen, I don't know where I'd be right now. I mean, I'd be doing the same thing. I mean, you know, not being as productive as I could be, and wasting everything that I currently, currently have right now, that I wouldn't have had if I continued drinking, and that created a whole big thing, because even though my parents were loving, my mother comes from my grandfather, who I never met on my mother's side. He was an alcoholic, and he was abusive to my grandmother, and they're from Uruguay, South America, and my grandfather, this was in the 60s. I think my strength comes from my grandmother, because in the 60s, being a Catholic family, there was no such thing as divorce.
Mm.
And my grandmother, with my mother being, I believe, 8 years old, decided to get a divorce. And so, I can't deal with this. He was abusive. He drank a lot, big time alcoholic, gambler. My mother at 8 years old, all of a sudden, in the 60s, there was no such thing as a single family home, unless the parent passed away. And they gave a lot of grief to my grandmother, but she didn't care. And that strength, I always look, and it's instilled the strength in my mother. And but that's why she was always hated that I drank. And my brother too. And my brother's sober as well. He stopped drinking as well. And that's one of the best things that I could have given my parents, is the day I decided to stop drinking. So
That's amazing. My grandma, sh I give her a lot of credit for who I am, because, like, she had such a, like, huge role in my life growing up, that when I quit drinking, she was very proud of me and didn't realize how big of a problem I had, and I was like, "Well, even if you did, like, it wouldn't have changed anything. I had to do it for myself."
correct.
But, like, for some reason, like, I don't know, my parents did drink as I was a child, and my dad, they still alcohol's still very involved, but, I love that your grandma was so strong, 'cause it reminds me of my grandma. My grandma stayed with my grandpa. They made it through his alcoholic dramas
Yep,
and pushed through, and, well, it's just what you do,
that's what you do sometimes. Yeah. So
right?
everyone's
Especially
got their
back
own
in that
different
era.
journeys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because they got married, what, in the 50s, 60s? Or definitely in the 50s, but, yeah, that generation is just built different than us.
Correct. Yes. Very different.
Yeah.
So,
So did you have a wife during this time, or
no, no, no,
no? So this was just solely you just out partying
only
with the
me.
boys all the time?
Correct. But like, speaking of that, I'm a true believer that some people like that reach out to me. It's like, I want to get sober because of my kids or my.
It doesn't help.
I go, you're not going to stop for you, because you would have stopped already. You would have already stopped. It's until you have that moment in you when you're like, I just had enough. Just like that moment in the morning that I had enough. I can't do it anymore. When you have that moment, you have the best family, and it's surprisingly, throughout my journey with people reaching out, some individuals that you look like they do have a great life, but internally they're struggling because of their drinking. And
Right.
you didn't even know that. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, like you start realizing, but because I put my story out there, it encouraged them to reach out and say, hey, listen, but when it comes to it, it's you and only you that can decide when it's enough. It doesn't matter what you could have your 3 kids, it doesn't matter. Children, job, wife, family. It's until you decide. Otherwise, you get sober. Otherwise, you get sober. You wouldn't need anything else. You would say, "Hey, I have a family. I need to stop." But mhm.
I I struggle with that so much because I look at so many people in my life and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like you have kids, you have grandkids. Like why can't you just set the bottle down and like but the bottle is literally their life. Their first like they love it more than anything ever and they treat everybody, that tries to get in their way of quitting alcohol like they're the devil.
Oh, correct. Yes.
And it's terrible.
It's our society that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you so you didn't go to outpatient or inpatient, you
No.
just went to AA?
I went to AA. I think the next day, and then I started going. I met a great group of people that I'm still in contact with. Um, um,
Would one of those people be somebody that sent you my way?
Huh? No, 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 no,
No.
no, no. We met through another mutual friend of ours, but uh, it was during COVID. So the name of our group is giving a shout out to Concrete Recovery. That's the name of the AA group, and that was because we were meeting in the park in
Mm,
Queens. So it was eye opening too as well when you're sitting there around people you don't know, and I'm not a shy person, but like you're just sitting there, you're like, all right, and the first time you're like, hi, my name's Hernan, and I'm an alcoholic, and it's like you say it for the first time, but everybody in the group understands because they're in the same boat. So it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt I was in the right place at the moment to actually express myself because a lot of people, especially men, keep stuff inside. They don't
mhm.
express themselves. So for me to sit there and be like, say it out loud, it's like, wow, in front of a group, right? Besides talking to myself in the mirror and you saying I need help or talk to a couple people, but it was being in a group of strangers. So that was another moment that I still feel inside of me because that stuck in me because it's like, all right, I'm pushing forward for a new life and a life without alcohol. Like I'm not gonna go. You're not gonna go out. You're gonna drink. Um, what am I gonna do afterwards? So.
Yeah. What else was in your toolbox? Like, so AA, like, did you
So I'd
start
say
working
AA
out?
started. I would watch some videos uh on YouTube and everything, but more and more just you know, just just thoughts and thinking of replaying all the idiotic things I did when I was drunk
Playing that tape forward.
in the head, right?
Yep.
Like, wow. I like just ingraining and putting the nail on that to be like, you don't want to go back there. You don't want to act like that ever again. You want to wake up knowing that you didn't do anything wrong. Because there were plenty of times I woke up, I'm like, did I argue with someone? Did I fight with someone? Did I do something stupid? Oh, I left my credit card. I mean, I can't imagine how I would literally probably go through like 6 phones a year, iPhones, because I would then start taking Ubers and I would leave the phone in the Ubers. And it got to a point where, it's just such a relief to be able to know that that stuff is never going to happen again. And people who know me from my past, if they want to keep thinking that way about me, that's on them. I've heard a couple people, oh, is he really sober? Is he doing
Ugh.
it's and ironically it's the people that you're like, all right, you already know there's you know how that so it's and let that be. If they want to think that way, that's what they're gonna want to think and everything. As long as you know that what you're doing for yourself, the only person you have to make happy is yourself. That's it.
Right.
I mean, we're human beings. We're gonna always like people are gonna talk and stuff. Fine, whether you reply back or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you could look at yourself in the mirror and know that, listen, I'm doing the best for myself, and I know I'm never gonna put myself in any situations, and that's I wake up thanking God every morning and being grateful that I was able to stop drinking at that moment, and it's been the best decision in my life for me when I stopped drinking.
Yeah, 4.5 years sober. What changes have you noticed, in your life? Like, physically, mentally, just financially, anything in your life?
I took off I took off on the positive with my career. Meaning, I was given like a golden ticket opportunity that was awarded to me, and that was I wouldn't have been able to maintain what I have and everything if I was still drinking, because it'd be like, all right, I'd be the fact that I was drinking during the weekdays too. That was the other thing that hit that touched me that day too. It's like it was a Monday and I went, I got drunk, and then Tuesday, I'm waking up calling my partner and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to come in. I went out last night," and being like, "All right,
Yeah.
nothing. It's nothing abnormal," but I was given an opportunity, and ever since then, it's like I've been focused as an entrepreneur, and it's taken me to the next level where I'm thinking so big outside the box that I always felt like like that's how I felt, but knowing that I'm sober and focused, it's allowed me to expand on my portfolio of things of what I'm doing, financially, career wise, investments. And by being sober and all that, I'm also sharing that story with people online as well, which they're reaching out to me to say, "Hey, listen, I see what you're doing. What can you do?" And that part of it, it's also helping people out and getting them. Some people get rugged. It could be like, "Oh, I know I need to stop drinking. Let me talk to someone." Or, "Listen, I want to change jobs, or I want to invest in something." So sometimes we're human beings. We need to see, and a lot of people are visual learners and visual feelers. And by showing that on social media, people see, and people then feel comfortable to reach out and everything. So financially, it's been me being focused. I mean, that's the key thing on anything, is being focused on that. So, uh, relationships with my parents has been phenomenal. Knowing that I'm not going to get in an argument with them or anything with the drinking or anything of that nature. And every month, my mother's crying every month, happy that I changed my life.
Aw.
And everything. My dad's old school. He doesn't say anything, but tells my mother, it's like, "Oh, I can't believe it's already been that long. Can you imagine? Look at all the things he's accomplished since he stopped drinking, right? Because you were too worried about, I was too worried about drinking and hanging out and having a good time than actually focusing on what really matters in life and everything." So,
Like, "Hernan, are you ever gonna grow up?" Is that what your dad would, like, say?
well, it'd be relayed through my mother, but yeah. But so turn of event, I know, like, so I started working out. I had a good workout. I was getting in shape last year. I started in December, and then in August, September, I kind of stopped going to the gym and everything. And then I was like, all right, I noticed I started gaining weight again. So I'm like, I was thinking to myself, all right, what can I do to make sure that I'm gonna stay on track? So what did I do? Being sober is one day at a time. So I committed to myself 36 days. Today will be 37. 37 days ago, that I will do at least an hour at the gym or any type of workout, running out or anything of an hour. And I was like, I'm taking my sobriety blueprint and applying it to my working out blueprint. And
Yes.
I've been going to the gym for 36 straight days, and today will be 37. And I'm going to stick to that because now it's ingrained in my mind that I need to obviously stay sober and work out. As I'm 45 years old, I'm getting older, so I need to get myself in shape and everything. So, and now when I do my posts, I'll put, hey, 1620 days sober and 32 days straight workouts. So now I'm creating that blueprint for myself, because that's what's worked for me. I need a schedule, I need a routine, and I need
Mhm.
something that like visually for me to see that of what I'm doing. So I applied currently my workout as I my blueprint on my sobriety. So one day at a time. Now I'm doing it the one day at a time. So next thing is going to be eating right. That's where it's still I'm struggling. So
Well, I mean, don't get me started on that. I feel like when people first quit drinking, like, a lot of people would ask me, like, "How did you overcome your sugar cravings. And I was like, well, I couldn't have sugar because I was doing 75 hard. So I had to like find ways to get my sugar craving through chocolate protein and peanut butter. And
Yep.
like I found protein treats to help with those sugar cravings. But I really feel like alcohol and food, and I say this in a lot of my podcasts, alcohol and food go hand in hand. If you have a bad habit with alcohol, just like some people have a bad alcohol like habit with food. Like my husband had the food addiction and I had the alcohol addiction. Like he couldn't stop at one piece of pizza and I couldn't stop at one beer. Like so, and I always am like I always try to use that as like food is hard also.
Oh,
It's
it's
so
hard.
hard. And you can't really you have to eat. And I talked to somebody on my podcast the other day, I can't remember who it was. It's like, but you have to eat. Like so you really have to be mindful of what you're actually putting in your mouth. Like alcohol, like you can set alcohol aside and you still have to drink something, but like if alcohol is not in your house, you don't have to be as mindful about it. But like you have to be extra mindful about like how you're cooking, like the when you get hungry, like what are you gonna do when you get so hungry that you just want to grab like a bag of chips
Yep.
or order a pizza? Like it's a struggle.
Especially with Uber Eats easily there now.
Right? Right. I get it. But as the personal trainer side of me, like I'm like food is 80%, nutrition is like literally 80%
80%, yes.
of
Yeah.
your of your
That's my
fitness.
next goal. That's my next goal. So
Yeah, but I love the one day at a time because it's so true. So many people like it's so hard to create those good habits, but also to break those bad habits. So you're taking that bad habit blueprint and applying it to creating a good habit blueprint.
yeah,
I love that for you.
thank you. So,
And I think posting it online, just like when I did my first drinker video, it helped keep me accountable. Like, so now, like, not only do you have your sobriety coin keeping you accountable, now you have your food, like
a workout, yeah.
your workouts.
Yeah.
And next it'll be food.
Yeah. Well, yeah, next will be food. So it's like now it's like, oh, I gotta go to the gym. I have the thing, and it's like, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do to convince yourself to be like, hey, if you're like, I don't want to go to the gym, but I did promise myself, and I'm like, wow, if I do a post and now I'm like, hey, day two, it's like, oh damn, I restarted. So it's like it's just a way to program yourself, and you gotta do what you have to do, which what you know works for you. Everyone's different, right? So whether this helps you out, like you were mentioning about your cravings that you had to go through chocolate, you do what you have to do in order to help yourself out with whatever you're trying to eliminate or create. So
Yeah. And I really think like a good diet, exercise really go hand in hand with quitting drinking. And so, you said you were going to the gym when you first quit drinking?
no, I didn't go to the gym when I first started drinking, but I started no, last year I started going, and then I was doing
Okay.
good, but I was like, doing 3, 4 days a week, and then I stopped for a good total of, I think in August I stopped, and then in mid-December I realized I'm like, I'm gaining weight, and I'm like, I was getting in shape, and that's when I decided, I'm like, all right, what can I do to not get back to say, hey, I'm gonna, because what happens is you miss one day at the gym, and then like the next day, all
Yeah.
right, I'll go to the next, and it starts that snowball effect, and it's like, I'll wait till I'll do it I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, all right, well, 2 days is not gonna hurt me, so I need to eliminate that. So the only way to eliminate it's like, hey, you have a program, you got to go every day because that's what you need to do and everything. So and it's good because I feel good because I feel productive. So
Yeah, I feel like that is also applied to quitting drinking. It's like, well, maybe I'll just have one drink. And then it's like, then it spirals you back into your full drinking habits. Just like, I mean, I do the same thing with working out. I'm like, I'll just take a couple days off. What's it going to hurt? And then I find myself in this slump and I'm like, holy crap.
yeah,
So, and then it's hard to get back in the routine. Just like if you slip back to drinking, it's going to be hard to get back into quitting drinking again. I mean, gosh, there's so many pieces of the puzzle.
and
So,
that's when I said to myself, it's either all or nothing.
yeah.
I'm not gonna try to continue just to try to do like the one drink or have a drink, have a water, have a. I'm like, it's either I stop completely, 100%, or just stop trying to convince yourself that you could do this and just drink the way you want to drink instead of worrying about whether you're gonna interject water every 1 or 2 drinks. So
Right. It's like it's we call that controlling it, trying to control it.
Try to
It
control it.
doesn't work.
Sure.
The alcohol controls you.
You tried it for 20 years, it didn't work. So 15 years. At
Did
one
you start
point, you got to walk away from it.
exactly. Did you start well, most of us or some of us realize that. When did you start drinking?
I actually started drinking in college. I never had any, and I never drank in high school or anything. I started drinking in high school. And that's when it started. So
In high school?
no, no, in college. Yeah, when
Okay.
I went to college, when I went to UMass Amherst. So um, that's I feel a lot of alcoholics are born, not created, born in
Mhm.
college. And it wasn't because
I
going, and it wasn't because I was going leaving my. I grew up in New York City. You know, it had nothing with going that. Just the environment you're in and everything. And it's I joined a fraternity, but the fraternity had nothing to do with it. But you're around your friends, and you're like, oh, let me just try it. It doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
And then it's that's when I was born an alcoholic. So probably was in me. It just came out when I was because of your environment too, right? It's the environment you're in.
Right. Yep. Exactly. I feel like our environments definitely play a huge role in
100%.
our behavioral or our alcohol behaviors because I mean, yeah, because a lot of people want to blame it on their like I don't know. I get a lot of like pushback on this that it runs in your blood and it's like it doesn't they're learned behaviors. I mean,
Just the same way as we became sober, right?
yeah,
It's your decisions and your behavior. Yeah, I mean, it could be in us, but it's whether you choose or not to engage in that.
exactly. And like for me, I decided to engage in it.
Yeah.
And for 23 years.
So I always think about all the money I spent. I mean, on drinking. So, but
Yeah, especially going out. Like I wasn't like a going out type drinker. Well, like I I don't go like bar hopping or like clubbing or anything, but like when I went out to like restaurants and stuff, like I would spend a ton of money, but I was mostly a stay-at-home drinker. But for those people that tell me how much money they save because they were always out, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I cannot imagine how much money you actually do save because just my tabs now, I look at them and I'm like, "Wow, that was only 50 bucks versus 150 bucks."
yes,
Those add up. Those add up.
they start adding up. Yeah, I mean, I talk with my friends that I grew up with, like that we went out and everything. We're like, and a lot of them don't go out anymore because they have families and everything. But it's like, man, the amount of money that we used to spend going out to the clubs, buying bottles, it was, but that's what you're doing, and I don't regret it. I had a good time, and I was able to enjoy myself. There were some bad times, but I did realize, 4.5 years ago that enough's enough. I need to stop. So
Yeah.
took me a while to get out of my system, but it got out of my system.
That's amazing. I wanna, talk more about, your nonprofit. 53 months, 4.5 years.
Well, so I just created a nonprofit that I'm looking to start actually performing to raise money. But the goal behind it was I one time saw this video with Robert Downey Jr. and he was talking about how Mel Gibson helped him out, and the only thing that Mel Gibson asked him to do was help the next person. So I created a nonprofit called Help the Next Person, and what I'm going to be planning on doing is provide once I raise funds, which all the business model I'm almost pretty much done with in terms of fundraising, ways to accumulate revenue for the nonprofit, and provide either recovery or rehab facilities for people uh, initially that are close to me that's someone who needs the help, and then eventually, depending on the revenue that we produce, extend it. So this year alone, I'm gonna try to hopefully for 2 people. That's the goal right now. But then eventually next year, 5 to 10. But obviously, it all matters on how much time I put into it and how much revenue I'm able to raise. So, and social media is a big part. I've been
Yeah,
it's a huge way to be able to raise money and make an awareness. That's the key thing. It's
yeah.
the awareness is the I think it's the number one thing out there. Just being aware of everything. So
Yeah, and I feel like in this community, like, recovering out loud is, like it's so helpful. You don't know whose life you're actually touching, helping, saving. And so like that's why we have the space
Mhm.
so we can keep reaching out to people. How do you intend to raise funds to support the individuals in need of the services?
Well, one model that I'm thinking about right now is creating another corporation. That's going to have something about, like, it's going to have a charitable name to it and everything, and where I'm pretty knowledgeable with services for business services, and everything, and create that where if I sell services to those businesses or individuals, a portion of that will be then donated to help the next person. That's one business model that I just thought about like a couple weeks ago, and I'm just going over with my lawyer and accountant to figure out how to go about that. So, but yeah, so that was that's a model I just thought about, like, as not a model, but as a setup for a portion of how to raise revenue. So, if I offer credit card services or payroll services, I can get that, and I can get a portion of either the gross or net, depending on how we'll figure it out, and give the donation to the help the next person. So, in a way, it's like, all right, you're going to be using services that you need to use. Might as well use it. Come through me, and then a portion of that will help fund, uh, hopefully, someone's rehab or recovery. I've seen people do clothing lines and everything, fundraisers and all that stuff. I've been getting really good at fundraising. In December, I raised $10,000 in 7 days for the Shriners Children's Hospital.
Oh, I'm a
And
Shriners baby.
yeah, huh? You are
Yeah, I was born with club feet.
okay. All right.
Uh,
So that's what I'm part of helping out. So with that, I'm looking at also doing fundraisers and then other angles of what, but the services part, I know that could generate a lot of business in terms of being able to then to help the next person. But I'll be looking to grants and everything with that. So I'll be probably doing some clothing line as well. Um, like help the next person, because it's all about helping the next person. I mean, that
yeah.
stuff has stuck with me since I saw that video, and there's way. But yeah, within the next month or so, I'm gonna start looking to start raising some funds and everything, and then starting to see what we could do. So, and I invest my own money too as well. So that's another thing. I'm a big believer, like, you also have to invest you invest your money in for your causes, right? Like, I'm not gonna tell you, hey, donate money here, and I'm not putting any of my, I'm not doing any donation. So,
Yeah.
but and then what I'm going to do is reach out to a couple of rehab centers around the area, and then start talking to them about collaborating in terms of, like, once getting pricing of how much it costs and everything, and then I could start, getting a visual of a goal to say, hey, I need $20,000, and I could bring 3 people for a week, whatever it is, because that's new to me with the rehabilitation and the recovery centers. So
Yeah, because inpatient ranges what from 6 to 20 and or for 30 days, and then outpatient for 30 days about 1,400 to 10,000,
correct, I believe so. Yeah.
and depending on where you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, another goal of mine will help the next person is, and I have already the blueprint because of someone who actually, who's created a huge sober living houses. So that's something I went to go look at property up in Buffalo at one time, but that's it's a venture that I eventually would want to get into in sober living housing. That's going to be part of it. So that'll be one aspect of it. We're purchasing or leasing a 5 to 10 bedroom location, and then provide sober living houses for individuals that are leaving the rehab or recovery centers, because sometimes you don't want to go back to the same environment. You want to go somewhere where everyone's trying to stay sober and everything. So as part of help the next person, it's not only that, the eventual goal will then to start creating sober living houses.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Like, uh, just the way that we can give back through our experiences. Like, maybe you didn't have like a rock bottom like some people have, but you had a enough of alcohol ruining your potential in life that now you see how much better it is on the other side, that you're like, I want to throw time and effort into helping more people. And like, that's absolutely amazing, because not like you don't hear like, I mean, I haven't talked to anybody yet that like has these types of plans.
So, and the plans are in there. By creating the nonprofit, I already got approved by the IRS as a 501c3. Now it's just executing on the plans and everything and getting things going. So
And you said this year you wanna start with, like, 1 or
this year, I mean,
1 or
listen, the
2.
goal's one because but if this could turn around, I mean, social media gives you the ability to be like, hey, listen, I just created this nonprofit. Can you donate? It's tax deductible, and see, I could get $10,000-$20,000 off the bat, depending on who decides to donate and everything. So, obviously, that's what I'm looking to do, to bring the funds in right away. But then eventually, like, start looking into some clothing, a little bit of clothing, and I just believe you need several streams of revenue
Mhm.
because you can't just focus on one thing in order to get. So that's why on the services part, it'd be great. I could say, hey, you know, use your credit card services or your payroll services or one thing, and then I could say a portion of that will be then donated on your behalf to here, which will help out XYZ. And by but people have to believe in you, and your credibility has to be on point because people that just go, oh, you're just trying to raise money so you could pay. I've proven myself and shown that I do raise money to give away, and I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm putting myself out there so people feel comfortable when hey, can you donate to my nonprofit? Because this is what I'm looking to do. People, it's easier for them to give, right? So if I don't really know you, well, let's say if I know you, and all of a sudden I don't see you do anything on your Facebook and Instagram, and you're like, oh, Hernan, can you donate to X, Y? You're gonna be like, some 90% of the time you're not going to give anything because you're like, but if you see someone who's active in community service, doing this, raising money, it's easier than to raise money because people are actually seeing what you're doing and everything, and they know you're doing it for a good cause and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I raised the 10 grand in 7 days for Shriners. And I text everybody, hey, listen, I'm raising 10 grand for Shriners for the wheelchair and seating program. And some of your proceeds are going to provide for batteries, the seat cushions, and everything. So now they visualize seeing what they're donating and giving it, because sometimes you have to be direct with people, sending it on that personal level, because it's easy to post stuff up. People are not going to. Very few people like to say, "Hey, I'm going to go donate." You got to reach out to them and, like, when I get help the next person, hey, listen, I just started this nonprofit. Any donations that will be tax deductible would be appreciated. If you could send, you could send however I'm going to set it up, and then we'll go from there. I feel I'll be able to raise $20,000-$30,000 off the bat that way, because people see what I'm doing and everything, and that I put myself out there in terms of my sobriety. So it's
Yeah.
a catch-22, right? It's like, you have to promote it in order to get, some people look at it. I'm like, but you still have to promote your nonprofits. You got to show, because why? Because then people see what you're doing. If people don't see what you're doing, they're not going to be inclined to donate. So
Right.
you have to advertise, whether some people call it showing off or whatever. It is what it is. But people, at least now, this day in the environment we're in, it's all social media, right? TikTok, Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
Snapchat, Thread, WhatsApp, everything.
Right. See, I feel like I struggle with that whole advertising thing because I never, like, tell people to subscribe, like,
You have
ring
to.
the bell. I never tell them that I have a members, like, part of my YouTube where, like, we do, like, coaching calls weekly, and, like, and then I also do one-on-one coaching, but, like, I don't advertise that stuff because, like, I have people are like, "Oh, you just wanna make money," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like,
What's the matter with that?
like,
Do it.
helping people. Like, I created a safe space in my members community for people to be able to come and talk with me as a group, and, um, like, they love it. They're like, "Megan, I love that you created the space," and I'm like, "See?" Like, and then once you start getting that feedback too, like, "Oh my gosh, Renan, you did, like, this and this and this, and it helped this person," like, it does spiral in such a good way.
What I would recommend is advertise it. And if they're going to think that you're trying to make money, let them think what they want to think. At the end of the day, you're doing the right thing. You're helping people out. People are telling you in your community that this is great what you're doing. And I would use that as a tool for yourself to be like, when you get discouraged, or you might like, I don't know if I should post. No, do it. You know what I did? After I knew I was going to meet with you, I sent it to like 20 people I know. Hey, listen, start following her. I'm actually going to do a podcast, but hey, look, because it's all about advertising, and because you need to get, people need this. And I feel like in our culture, in our environment, because of the drinking, that alcoholism is like a taboo word. Like,
Right.
you can't, oh, you're an alcoholic, right? You're this and that. And you're looking at like, you're just so much of an alcoholic as I am. You know,
Right.
they just don't realize it because they think they think that, oh, it's okay if I drink Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but because I work throughout the whole week. So that's why the whole anonymous thing, it works for some people, but I think if we tailor it where it doesn't have to be anonymous, more people will be open. And my message is always, don't be ashamed to seek help and don't be ashamed to think that you're an alcoholic. It is what it
Yeah.
is. Like I am an alcoholic. If I drink, if I start drinking, I know I could drink 15, 20 drinks in a night. And yes, I'll
Yeah.
be laying in the couch all day next morning, but then I'll get up and then 7 o'clock, I'll be ready to go and go out. So that the anonymous thing now, but obviously, AA started, I don't know, 80 years
80.
ago, 80
Yeah.
years ago, and 90 years ago. We're in such a like visual type of environment that the anonymous thing doesn't work as much as it did before. People
I'd
need,
like to know
yeah,
I'd
people,
like to know the stats on AA nowadays. Like, with all these communities happening, all these coaching, uh, and programs outside of AA, I'd like to know, like, if AA is still as popular as it was.
listen, I believe it is, and I think it's very important because it's more AA, not anonymous, but they like to put the anonymous in. But I was I was completely like flabbergasted, completely thrown when I couldn't believe how many meetings there are in New York City throughout the whole day and night in every borough, and you're like, there's thousands of meetings
Yeah.
every day. And you're thinking, oh, there's maybe a meeting here, a meeting there, and you're like, no, there's a 12 o'clock meeting over at this place, and then there's a 1 o'clock over there, the 3 o'clock, and when I'm sitting at AA, and when I went on, I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, this is a big epidemic that we are not addressing. That we just sweep it under the rug. Oh, he's an alcoholic, then that's his problem. And like I tell people that reach out to me, I was like, you can't have conversations with people that don't have a drinking problem because they're never going to understand. In their minds, like, oh, I could just have 2 glasses of wine or 2 drinks of. You're not built that way. And having a conversation with a person like that, they're just gonna, they're not gonna do anything for you that it's gonna enlighten you because they don't have that. They don't have that issue. You need to be when so if you and I could connect because we know we could drink. We have a problem drinking. Like we
We didn't
know
have an off switch.
yeah, there's no off switch. So it's yeah. But that's how I look at things now. I think it needs to be, and I noticed a couple other people that reached out that they started posting their journey of sobriety. And on Christmas Day from I'm gonna give it a shout out to Mark, where we went to UMass Amherst. He was in a different fraternity. And then on Christmas Day, he posted. I wake up and I see a post with I'm tagged in, and he's like, thanking me for putting my story out there. Now he's putting his story out there, and people can't believe that he stopped drinking and everything. Now, how many people he's inspiring now?
Yeah.
So that little domino effect helps out. And if you can help someone out, that's that's great. I know a couple of people that went to rehab after talking with them, but just seeing, but people, it's surprising. Like you don't think people are following you, but they're really following you.
And I love that you mentioned this because I talk about this once in a while. I got I my video helped somebody get sober, and his sobriety journey has touched somebody else's he, like, touched somebody else's life, which then touched millions of lives,
Wow.
and then it's like, I mean, that specific thing wasn't alcohol related, it was, it's a political thing. Anyways, but, it just, like, helped, like, women, like, that was the thing, and then, I've had so many people reach out to me, send me pictures of their before and afters, like, a girl I graduated with, she's like, "Megan," she's like, "This changed my life." Like, she looks like a whole different person. And then I get, like, messages from, like, women like, I'm 30, almost 38, I get, like, messages from women that follow me on or that are in my like, live here with me,
Mhm.
and they're like, "I'm a week sober, I'm 2 weeks sober, like, how did you" and, like, they reach out to me, and I'm like, "Oh, people are watching me."
Yeah.
Then that's why I don't stop posting on my personal stuff because none of my personal people are gonna personally reach out to me. I mean, I've had those attacks like, "Well, why can't Megan help them if she helps everybody else?" I'm like, because those other people wanna watch me and they want help.
Yep.
But you're just sitting here criticizing my content and feeling attacked, but you're feeling attacked because you obviously got a problem. But like, I can't help you if you don't want me to help you, if you don't ask for help or you don't show like, hey, maybe I do need help. But like, it's just, yeah, how many people's lives that you change without realizing how many lives you're actually changing. Like that domino effect is absolutely inspiring.
It is, and it's addicting, right? Because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
how many I want to help out. It encourages you to post stuff. One day I posted up a video of a YouTube video about alcoholism with some of the celebrities and everything, and be like for people struggling. And next day I'm getting a bunch of hey, thank you. I needed to see that video. They didn't tell me they're having a problem with drinking, but for some reason they needed to see that video and intrigued them that they watched it because they know, hey, this is about alcohol and sobriety and everything. So that's a good part of the addiction, that part, right? That's a that's a good thing that you're helping out people because they're reaching out, you don't realize, and then when you want to help out more. And that's why I wanted to get more into the nonprofit stage, because I believe I can help out a little bit more, help out more there with that, and then eventually reach out. So but
And I feel like when I reach out to people or like when John he sent me like gosh, like 5 people now. It's like nobody thinks that their story is powerful, but it resonates with somebody. Like
somebody.
your story is different than my story. My story is different than the person that has liver disease, but like it doesn't matter. It depends on who's listening to your story and who resonated with it and whose life you changed. I'm like, I don't care. Like maybe you won't change 50,000 people's lives, but maybe you'll just save one person.
Correct.
Like you got to tell your story. You got to be open about it. And like I love all the people being vulnerable, coming on here and sharing their stories because it's helping so many people, whether you know it or not.
Tell your story. There's somebody out there that wants to hear something that's going to resonate with them and give them the courage to say, hey, listen, I have a problem. Because you could be aware of it, but are you acknowledging it? Because you could be aware, hey, but am I going to acknowledge it for them to make that change? And that's why it's important to post out there, because there's millions of us out there that are struggling internally, and some people that you don't even know that they're struggling. So if you don't post, you're not out there giving your stories, doing these podcasts and everything. There's people out there that I mean, hopefully we touch somebody today with your story or my story. That's a win, right? Spending an hour together, enjoying a conversation. It's always good to talk about it because it's an accomplishment, right? That we're sober, right? Like a lot of people, if it's that easy, everybody would stop drinking. There would be nothing. So we have to be proud of ourselves too, of the decisions that we decided to make, and that we're sticking through it, because that's the hard part. It's the consistency and staying on a target and staying on a
Yeah,
plan, because it's easy to be dissuaded.
exactly.
You could get alcohol delivered to your house now, right?
Right? When those Uber drivers are drinking, they're picking up your alcohol while they're drinking on the way to drop it off. And I only
Get
say
the
that because
whole thing off the liquor store if I want. I'm like, I was like, good thing I didn't have this before.
oh, I mean, I've been tempted to use it. Like back before I quit, I was like, ooh, that's a convenient feature. I don't have to drive to the store, or I didn't really need more, but hey, I want to get some more. But oh my gosh. So I'm excited and I can't wait to hear more about your nonprofit
Yep.
um coming together and, like maybe, we can continue talking about like, how we can contribute in a way.
Yeah, that'd be great. We're friends now, right? So
Yes.
we're part of
Yes.
a community now. So
Exactly. I'm definitely glad that I was your first podcast.
yes, yes.
Although sometimes I get a little like a little crazy in my head sometimes, especially when the dog is just barking at the door. I'm like, is everybody gonna hear her barking at the door? And so it distracts me. But I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story
Well, thank
and
you for everything. I enjoyed this.